Good morning. I'm Dilip Thakore, editor of EducationWorld.
Good morning. I'm Summiya Yasmeen, managing editor.
Well, here it is, the 25th anniversary issue of EducationWorld.
A big milestone issue.
Yes, 1999 to 2024. It's been a hard slog. It's also been plowing somewhat a lonely furrow.
Yes.
But we've got there, and I think it's important to say this is uninterrupted publishing. We've not dropped a single issue, even within COVID, illnesses, sicknesses, health issues, whatever, through rain, shine, and snow. We've kept it coming.
November 1999 to November 2024, it's been uninterrupted publishing.
Yes, indeed. Something to be proud of. Okay, so what can we say?
Our 25th anniversary issue, if I'm saying it myself, it's, I think, a collector's item. We've got some great anniversary essays, and we've got a really tour de force cover story, which we'll tell you about a little later.
Yes, indeed. And the highlight of it is anniversary issues, as you say. Essays, sorry, by Pratap Bhanu Mehta, Dr. Neeraj Kaushal, Sudhindra Kulkarni, Dr. Raymond Ravagle of Stanford, and Rajiv Desai. These are amongst the cognoscenti. These are well-known names in Indian journalism and in publishing, news publishing.
Yes, indeed. And befittingly, in our editorial section, Dilip, our first edit is on our 25th anniversary.
Yes. Titled Call for Common Cause, where we ask all the publics in India, politicians, academics, business, industry, teachers, students, parents, to make common cause with us, to help us to attain our still unfulfilled mission, to make education the #1 item on the national agenda.
Indeed.
Because we believe, and we reiterate in our editorial, that there's no way India is going to become a well-developed country unless we become a well-educated country. And how and ways and means to become a well-educated country, we've been writing about it for 25 years. And in our cover story, we give you a synopsis of what we've been doing.
Indeed.
Right.
And our second edit also is on a very timely issue, Dilip. India-China border.
Yes.
And where we have advocated that, it's in both the countries' mutual interest to make peace.
Make peace and redraw our borders, which we argue are colonial legacies. And our editorial has come at a fortuitous time, because recently there's been a thaw in India, Sino-India relationships. Troops have gone back to their original positions in the borders. There's been redeployment and withdrawal of troops. So we hope it has some influence in changing public opinion in favor of Sino-Indian peace and harmony.
Yes. And in our education news section, again, we've got you the interesting and the most happening news happening around the country. From Delhi, we have a very, I think, quite an important news story where the UGC and AICT both have issued guidelines about integrating mandatory apprenticeship and internship programs within the conventional bachelor's degree programs, whether it's in art, science, commerce, or engineering.
Yes, indeed. I think we call it a belated awakening. This has happened, in our opinion, some 25 years too late, but better late than never. Then we have quite a unique story from Bhutan, where there's a huge new city coming up. Bhutan, of course, I think we need to tell our readers are the people who introduced the concept of gross national happiness.
GNP.
Yes, instead GHP.
Yeah.
GNH. As a substitute for GDP and GNP. And now they're building a huge new city called the
Mindfulness City.
Kalepu Mindfulness City, which is going to be, when, if all goes according to plan, what Hong Kong is to China, GMP will be to India.
Yes.
International financial hub.
Hmm.
And of course, for that, to attract capital and people to come and work in that city, they need good schools. And what's being done in the education sector is written in our story.
Yes. And from West Bengal, usually the unending saga of now the doctors' protest after the RG car rape and death incident. What's happening there? We've got a report from there.
And it's become a wider
Yes,
movement.
wider movement, and how the government is coming around, meeting the demands of the doctors and pressing ahead with the reforms.
Yes.
And in a Tamil Nadu news, a very important news there, Dilip, I think a very welcome development is the government now has issued directives to all schools to constitute SMCs, though the RT Act mandates the constitution
The
of
school
SMCs.
management committees.
Yes, but they practice more in the breach than observance. So now there's a new guideline saying you got to do it.
Yes.
All government schools and aided schools have to do it.
Yes. And what about Karnataka? Left out freedom of speech row in IIM Bangalore. Quite interesting. Yes.
So again, we've got education notes where we've covered, a lot of other cities, especially from the northeast, Nagaland, Jharkhand, Tripura, etc. So we've got important education news happening from these states also covered in education notes.
Education briefs, corporate news, corporates involved in education.
And of course, our Young Achiever section this time has two very, I might
distinguished,
say, distinguished
high
achievers,
potential.
Dilip.
Yes.
Of course, Swapnil Kusale, who won the shooting medal for India at the Olympics, and a budding badminton star, Tanvi.
Yes, who's only 14 years old.
Yes, who's only 14 years and she's showing great promise.
Yes.
And our anniversary essay, Dilip, our first anniversary essay as printed in the magazine, is written by Dr. Pratap Banu Mehta, renowned public intellectual.
Yes, and former.
On how educational delusions are endangering the Viksit Bharat goal. So, an analytic, very good piece. Highly recommend you to read it. And coming to our 25th anniversary cover story.
Well, it starts with an introduction of all the numerous problems, pitfalls, reverses, and successes that we had in launching this magazine, which surprisingly didn't receive the support we expected from industry and society. And finally, we had to raise the funding, some of the funding that we needed for it abroad.
Yes.
So the whole history is given there.
So 25 years, 1999 to 2024, monitoring, influencing, and shaping Indian education. So in our, I think, quite unique, path-breaking story, what we've done is from 1999 to 2024, we have done actually an abridged history of Indian education where we've covered all the major education milestone events that happened during the past quarter century. We not only covered these events, but we've also given you EW's role in monitoring, influencing, and shaping them.
Yes, and commenting on them. And this has been a very eventful quarter century.
Yes.
Because of the new millennium, then there was the RT Act, the TMA Pi judgment, freeing private education, a very momentous 25 years. And we not only remind our readers what were the major milestones that of the past 25th century, and we have also commented what we said at that time.
Indeed.
And help perhaps to influence and shape education history of the past 25 years.
Yes. So according to me, everyone should be interested in reading this story, but especially for those who are interested in Indian education, how it shaped over the past 25 years. This is the story to read preserve and archive in your libraries, because we've covered, like I said before, Dilip, all the major events of Indian education.
Yes, indeed. Yes, it's a difficult story to write
To
and a
write,
lot to
yeah.
research and to go back 25 years, which Summiya and her team did a very good job.
Yeah.
And well, we tell you how we helped Indian education to evolve somewhat, though not sufficiently.
Yes, there's a long, like we say in our story, there's a long way ahead, long way to go for Indian education to,
Yes.
achieve its many goals, starting from universalization of pre-primary education to school education, higher education, enrollment ratio, tertiary education enrollment ratio is still very low. NEP 2020 sets a target of 50%, by 2030. So there are many goals yet to achieve.
Yes, but we are somewhat hopeful. We express some optimism. It's not all
Indeed.
gloom and doom.
Indeed, indeed.
Then our next essay, we've persuaded Dr. Neeraj Kaushal, who teaches sociology at professor of sociology at Columbia, the top ranked Columbia University, to write. And according to her, India's success, the Viksit Bharat goal, which set by the Prime Minister to make India a developed middle class country by 2047, that's 100th anniversary of our independence, depends on our success in skilling our population.
Yeah, skilling
and
and
she has set out the
educating.
argument in favor of paying a lot of attention to skilling education.
Yes, indeed. We've got very interesting people in our people section.
People section, yes.
The new headmaster of Shrewsbury International School, of
Yes.
the venerated British boarding school Shrewsbury. They've started a campus in Bhopal along with the Jagran Welfare Society.
Which
and
Jagran University.
Yes,
also.
so started the Jagran Lake University in Bhopal.
I think we should tell our readers that Shrewsbury School was started in the year 1552. That's 3 centuries ago.
Indeed.
No, not 5 centuries ago.
And 2 national teacher awardees have been profiled.
Yes,
who are doing,
of government schools.
Yes, of government school, who are doing, who've gone beyond the call of duty to provide education to their children in
especially
government
girl
schools.
children. Yes. And then another rural children's champion, Brinda Purna Pragna, who's also started a company or an institution called
Vidyaloka,
which provides digitally enabled education for bottom of the pyramid children
of government schools.
Yes.
And we've got Sumit Kumar, who is the Team Lee's degree apprenticeship program. He heads that, and he talks about how this program is going to,
it's an apprenticeship program for students, for school leavers and for university students. So everybody.
Yeah. And then in our 3rd anniversary essay authored by Sudhindra Kulkarni, he talks about preschool education,
Yes,
and how liberty, equality, and fraternity must begin in common preschools.
Common preschools.
Yes.
He makes the case that even the children of the rich, poor, middle class, everybody should, at least in their early years, go to common preschools.
Yes.
And Sudhindra, by the way, is traveled a lot in China, and he probably has these inputs come from his experience there.
Yes. And we have Education World India School grand jury rankings also published in this issue. So these are,
we need to tell them about our last month. Yes.
Yeah. So these are schools, which have applied in our grand jury section. So grand jury, the Education World India grand jury rankings invite schools to nominate themselves in parameters which are not listed in our Education World India school rankings. So these include parameters like campus architecture and design thinking, extraordinary leadership, emerging high potential, social and emotional learning, high happiness quotient.
Yes.
So schools nominate themselves, and then we have a high-powered jury. Some of our jury members include Fatima Agarkar, Rohit Mahindra, These are all very well-known educationists. They have assessed these nominations.
Yes.
We received over 1,000 nominations, Dilip, and they have assessed and ranked India's top 10 schools. So we've got
Under each of these unique parameters. And it's important, I think, perhaps tell our readers that we conduct the Education World India School Rankings, this is the world's largest school rankings, based on field surveys, where 10 to 15,000 people who are knowledgeable about education are interviewed and asked to rate schools on conventional parameters. These are grand jury awards for relatively low profile schools on a different set of parameters.
Yeah.
So
and
a lot of enthusiasm about the grand jury awards as well.
Absolutely.
Which is a good sign that people are beginning to take pride in their institution.
Yes.
Institutional pride is a precondition of developing schools and colleges and universities.
Yes. So in this essay, Dr. Ray puts forward a very interesting proposition where he says that yes, in academic rigor, etc., India's schools compare very favorably with the best in the West. Where they lose out is in providing holistic education, critical thinking, problem solving, application-based thinking, etc.
Yeah, application of knowledge.
Yes.
Here in India, I think schools are very good in collection of knowledge.
Yeah.
The critical factor is, of course, to apply knowledge, and that's where they score over us.
Yes. And international news section is back after not being featured because of our rankings issues over the past 2 months. So again, very insightful, happening education news from the United States, United Kingdom, Switzerland, Nepal, etc. So very, interesting.
Diverse.
Yes,
a lot of things are happening abroad which you wouldn't think reading the Indian newspapers. There's certainly no coverage of what's happening in education in other countries.
Yes, indeed.
And last but not least, the essay by Dr. Larry Ahn, US-based columnist, yes, who's written what were the issues in the recent presidential elections for education. According to him, under the previous democratic administrations, the bureaucracy had become too big in education. In fact, far outnumbering the teachers. So Dr. Ahn has always been a proponent of parents and teachers having control over education and not bureaucrats. And that's why he's backed the Republican Party and President Trump. And I'm sure he's very pleased to learn that the Democrats who believe in bureaucratization of education have lost the
US elections. Yes. Yes, and then in our pictorial essay, we've got a pictorial essay on a mega successful Education World India School Rankings, where we've presented some selected photos of the awards which were presented to schools and education leaders. For the full photos gallery, we recommend that you go online to educationworld.in, and the entire photos gallery of all the 3 days is right there.
Yeah, and I think we should again remind our readers the Education World India School Ranking Awards. It was is perhaps the biggest event in education of the year. Over 4,000 people, 3,000 people turned up over 3 days.
Yes.
There were seminars, lectures, and presentation of awards. And unprecedented enthusiasm was witnessed at these awards. And these pictures are some of the pictures that were taken at that event.
Yes, like I said, for the full essay, please go online and you can find your school's photograph.
Go to www.educationworld.in.
Yes.
About teacher to teacher from Mr. Himmat Dhillon, who's the headmaster of the top-ranked Lawrence School, Sanavar, where he's written on the critical importance. While he says technical and other education is all very important, but humanities education is critically important and must infuse all other subjects.
Indeed.
Very interesting, and
yes.
I'm happy to read this because I'm a I'm a great believer in humanities education.
Yes, and we also have an eyewitness report this time on a excellent initiative in Delhi NCR, the Gyanshri Skill Hub. So Gyanshri School, Noida, which is one of our
Top 10.
top 10 ranked Delhi NCR school, they have started a skilling center within their school campus, where vocational education and training is provided to children and youth from 15 to 35 years. So not just secondary students from Gyanshri school can attend this. Also, youth from the local community are provided vocational education and training. It's an excellent initiative and a model for other schools to follow.
The very important thing about this initiative is that during school hours, school's children, Gyansri children go to this hub.
Yes.
To learn some skills. But after that, after school hours, it's open. It opens up to all neighborhood people who may be interested in acquiring some skills.
Absolutely.
So very commendable.
Yeah.
Philanthropic.
Yes.
Initiative.
We say in the story, they're most happy if you'd like to visit the skill hub and learn about it and go back and start it in your own school.
Yeah, for teachers and school leaders.
Yeah,
it's open by appointment.
Yes.
Book reviews. Very interesting book review. What went wrong with capitalism by Ruchir Sharma, who's a prolific writer and one of the most readable economists worldwide. And according to him, a lot of things have gone wrong in America with capitalism. And luckily, the book is not only confined to America, but it also talks about what's happening in India, Vietnam, and other countries, and how we need to go back to the original
tenets of capitalism.
Yes, if countries are to progress and develop.
Yeah. Our second book review also is on a very interesting subject on the Design for Change movement started in Riverside School. So
Ahmedabad.
Ahmedabad, and how
by Kiran Sethi.
Yes, and how it's being now implemented in several countries around the world, and talk more about this design thinking led approach to education and the difference it makes to students' lives.
Yes,
and as usual,
joyful education. Yes.
Yeah, and as usual, we have a very
tongue-in-cheek
a postscript section. We advise that you read it. We won't. It's a big surprise. We won't tell you more about it.
Yes. Well, we've had to perhaps expose some idols with clay feet. Yes.
Yes.
Well, that's it.
So that's it. That's our 25th anniversary issue. Read, engage, and let's discuss. And like we say in our editorial, we call upon all of you all, parents, students, educators, teachers, principals, school leaders, higher education leaders, politicians, all of you all to join common cause with us to make education the #1 item on the national agenda. That's the mission statement of Education World as we put it out in 1999. It still remains our objective, and we hope that we will
I hope that wisdom will dawn on all of you all to understand sine qua non.
Indeed. And before we go, as usual, what we've got in ParentsWorld,
very timely
but sad, unfortunate story that we had to write about how you need to safeguard children from toxic air pollution, especially in the national capital and North India. So we've interviewed health experts, we've interviewed pediatricians who are giving parents, some excellent tips on how you can safeguard your children
against noxious air pollution. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.